How you guys doing?
Pretty
Making
good.
it.
What's happening?
Yeah.
There you go. I was wondering if there was a delay or something. Awesome. Looks like we got a couple. Anyone got a call for us to review today?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got links. Awesome. Well, before we jump into that, I want to hear some wins. How's everything going in you guys' businesses right now? We got anything?
Dude, for me, I was talking to Trailer. I was like, for me, the last week has been a freaking beatdown. Big time. Over the last week, I'm at like a 0% close rate. So I got some stuff figured out for sure. But
Well, that's why you're here, right?
that's
It's a
right.
win that you got on this call. You're taking actions in yourself to improve that, to get better. And as long as you apply, implement, let the law of average play out. Some weeks are going to be zeros, but then some weeks are going to be the highest close rates you've ever seen, and it's going to average out to a place to a healthy number for you. You
Yep.
know, so excited to see that play out.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we could jump right in. I see Spencer, you just dropped something, so we can take a listen to that one first. Anything you want to say about this call before we jump in?
I mean, I've been doing a lot of calls recently, and Trey knows this, but I've just had a really hard time with sales, and I have 4 clients, and I think I've done like almost 70 calls, so I'm like just doing really bad. And this one, this one, I think, well, I basically do something like career coaching for drummers and help drummers get to the point where they can play gigs and play professionally and whatnot. And every once in a while, I talk to someone who's more advanced, they have more experience, and don't have as big of goals. Um, Actually, I think this guy was both. Like, didn't have huge goals, and he had a lot of experience. And I think when I talk to someone with a lot of experience, I kind of just doubt myself. Like, don't know if I can actually help them. And so those are some of the things I was working with. So I knew in the moment that the call wasn't going that great, although he didn't give me a straight up no. Um, and I was also trying to figure out how to shorten the program because I figured he wouldn't need to learn as much from me. And so I shortened the program and lowered the price. So I was also trying to figure that out in the moment. And so that was like stuff that was also contributing to me like not being totally certain about what I was saying. But so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this just I definitely have calls that are a lot better than this, but I just thought I'd share this one.
What do you think you did well on this call?
Um, I don't remember specifically. I mean, I felt very much just like not that great about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll
And
dive into the technical, and we'll look at kind of some of the things you did from didn't do. But I mean, it sounds like overall what you're saying, like you're not going to close anyone from that mind frame, right? If you feel unworthy of the sale, if you feel like you can't help this person, then they're not going to feel that themselves. Because at the end of the
yeah,
day, sales is just a transfer of belief, and if you don't have it, you don't have anything to give, right?
yeah, yeah. And I
So
was totally thinking that too. I was like, I don't feel like I have that much to offer, and I'm probably not going to close this, which
where do you
I
think
know
that stems
is
from?
good. I mean, I think part of it is simply not having a ton of experience doing the coaching thing, and specifically, I haven't coached any more advanced players, so I just am unsure of myself in that sense.
Mhm. And you help them with their careers in drumming, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Is this person a professional drummer?
I mean, kind of like light duty. Like he just started teaching lessons, and he plays at a couple churches, and so he hasn't really tapped into like doing other bigger stuff, or like he hasn't really tried other things other than that.
Okay. And are you the person to help people tap into bigger stuff?
I mean, I know how to do it. I've done it for a long time. I guess
Okay.
one thing I still kind of doubt myself on and am unsure of is that um, just because it's such not like a linear path in drumming, and I'm sure it's like that for a lot of our different niches, but like like it's not like construction where you go to trade school and then I actually mentioned this in the call, and then you go to like do your apprenticeship and then you get a job kind of thing. It's like you could do almost anything and look anywhere and aim at anything, but so I have things that kind of whittle it down quite a bit, but I still know that it's not guaranteed. So that's another thing that in the back of my mind, I know I'm not completely sure that I can deliver on my promises in that sense because nothing's guaranteed.
Well, nothing in life is guaranteed, but that right there is something internally that you need to fix, right? And if anything, him being more experienced, having more skill, puts the numbers more in his favor to succeed with your strategies and with your methods. So that should only get you even more excited for the call, get you more excited to help him because it's an easier client to serve.
Hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Right?
Um,
Because if you help him get a career in drumming, if he's already an experienced drummer and has a lot of skill, wouldn't it be easier for him to land the opportunities needed to up level his career as long as he implements what you have to offer?
yep. Yeah, and I guess um, I probably have very common things that come to mind, but like when I think of that, I'm like, he's probably tried all the things that he can do because he has lots of experience and he's been playing for a long time, just stuff like that. But yeah, you're definitely right.
Cool. Well, let's listen to a little bit of this. I mean, the main problem, we kind of got it. It's your internal beliefs. If you just fix that, the rest of the call would probably just flow from that. But we'll listen to a little bit of this, and then Hunter, do you have a call that we can listen to afterwards?
Yeah, I'm
Cool.
trying to get it hosted for sure. Yeah,
We'll
it's
get that link. Get that link ready, and we'll jump into it
yep,
right afterwards.
yep.
Hey Kevin, how's it going? What's happening?
Hey,
Hey, how you doing, man?
doing good. Sorry about that. Was trying to get the link over to my laptop, and like I couldn't get my Gmail to work for some reason. But
Oh, no
what's
worries.
up?
What's going on? Live from Charlotte.
Yeah,
How
and
are things
you're
in North
very
Carolina?
really
What's
good.
that?
Fall. I was
Oh,
saying it's
cool.
really good. Fall is kicking in gear for sure. So we've had like a pretty good temperature drop, but it's
Right
nice.
on.
It's nice getting rid of the heat some,
Rad.
especially being in the south.
Yeah, yeah. So cool. Yeah, I'm calling from. Well, I live in Hawaii, but I was in San Diego and LA for the last almost 20 years, and I just moved with my family out here to help mainly for my mom-in-law who's had some health issues. But yeah, we've been here for almost a year.
Oh, cool, man. Sorry to hear about the health issues though.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's going pretty well though.
That's
But yeah, major change. I was like in SoCal for like all of my adult life, so it's pretty wild.
yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm stoked to talk. Glad we were able to figure out the time. Sounds like you got a what is it, a lesson right after this?
Yeah, I got lessons that starts at about 4:30 today, so I just have to leave at 4 because the school that I teach at is about 30 minutes out, depending on traffic. That
Oh,
gives me
cool.
down there. Yeah.
Right on. Well, very cool. Yeah, well, I can kick us off if you're ready.
Sure. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, I think it'd be awesome just to hear more about your background and like kind of where you're coming from and the goals you have and everything. And as far as like the program is concerned, I mainly need to know if I can even help you and serve you. And if so, and we both feel like that's the case, then I mean you could join today and make a decision at the end of the call. And I'm also happy to answer any questions toward the end of the call and whatnot. But yeah, does that all sound good to you?
So right here, just confidence with your frame. Be really, really sure about what you're saying. I'm sure you can see that part here. It just we're not confident in the frame, and that's going to kick it off on the wrong foot in terms of how he sees you, right? That first decision, that first assumption of, how confident even you look in your ability to serve, stemming from right here.
You?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool.
I want to speak
Well,
about
can
that
we start off with
if you don't mind, Ty. Just a real quick thing, Spencer. Like, dude, just like listen to some of your best coaching calls and your best students right now. You know what I mean? Just be like, "Oh, man, like if all this does for them is this, like I love it to justify an offer in your own head. Just be like, if all this does is this, it's worth so much more for them than what they're gonna pay me. If all it does is blank, and that's gonna be a little custom to each prospect you speak to. But like for this guy, who knows? He's here ultimately because he's not satisfied with his career. Let's say you just got on like one extra gig a month. Like if all this does one extra gig a month bro, so worth it for him. That could be the catalyst for a whole new life. So if all this does is like tends to help me, because even with CB, I'll lose conviction sometimes. It's very human. It's very normal. All this does is blank and visit some of your best students, man. Just some thoughts.
Awesome. Right on. Thanks,
And
Trey.
that's one thing a lot of closers do this, I know, to kind of prepare for their day is like on a daily basis, you should just go through your testimonials. Your case studies, the wins, go through them on a daily basis so that you can keep that conviction really, really high, especially right before a call, right? So that you have stories actively on your mind, you have results actively ready to bring out, and you just reinvigorate that belief in what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, it's almost not only having belief that you can help people, but how you just view money and the worth and value of things, right? I've asked a lot of people this question. How many of you guys know how much the average person, I'm not talking about people that are super poor, people that are super rich, just the average person spends in their lifetime? Can anyone tell me what that is or give a guess? 3 million from Colin. What else? Any other guesses?
1.5 million.
1.5. Let's get one more guess. 2 million from Charles. So the average person spends between $4 and $5 million in their lifetime. Now, out of that 4 to 5 million, how much of that do you think is on something that's going to impact their life in a positive way, impact or change the trajectory of their life forever? What percentage do you guys assume that 4 million is? Less than 1%? It's almost none of it. Yeah, almost none of it. But people find a way to spend 4 million. Like, just think about that and then think about the price of your program and the impact it gives them. It's huge. They're gonna find a way to spend the money anyways, and you're doing them a disservice by not helping them overcome any fears or any feelings or any reserves or any doubts around if they should not spend it with you and with what you've got going on. I know that's not exactly what's going on here, Spencer. It's more on your confidence in being able to deliver him results. But if there's any reservations around charging the cash in alignment with the result, like just know that he spends a lot more every year on things that give him nowhere near what you could help him with.
Got it. So on that note, I was actually trying to intentionally do the thing where you're like you're drawing them in and basically building rapport. So where's kind of the balance of those things where you're sounding authentic and you want to make it sound like you don't know if you can actually help them and and so that it draws them in versus the confidence thing. Is there a way to do both?
Well, you're never at a point where you're never giving off an awe if you don't know if you can help them. That's not what pulls them in. What pulls them in is pushing off their desire for help and why they believe they need it. So I'm never like, I don't know if I can help you mentally. Or when I'm asking them questions, like I talked about last time with an awe of skepticism, it's never aimed at, can I help this person? It's more aimed at, why should we work together? It's more aimed at, why do you want this help? That way they defend their reason to move forward. They defend their why. For example, if they say, this is my goal, and I ask them skeptically, why do you want that? Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
it's never a doubt of if I can help them or not. It's never a doubt of if this person joins, they will get positive results and benefits from the program.
Okay.
Cool. Let's move on here.
I mean, just with whatever you're hoping to get out of this call, just so I can understand where you're at.
Yeah, I guess kind of I don't have many expectations. 'Cause I didn't know I wasn't 100% sure what to expect, but I guess maybe what like a better outline of like what goals are like kind of achievable and realistic, and like what is worth shooting for versus not shooting for. Um, Something along those lines, I guess, is probably as specific as I can get right now. I'm sure I'll have more as we keep going.
Yeah, well, that's insightful. Do you mean just like clarity in general about like what's possible for your drumming career?
Yeah, and not that kind of makes me sound like a little bit. I mean, it's my words. Like a limited point of view or a limited person. I'm really not that way. Like I tend to be really like have a positive outlook on the idea of making a full time career and everything. I guess just like I don't have an insight, like a super big insight on like the industry as a whole, how things work, how I guess just like what the path of success looks like. Because right now it kind of looks like a ton of like turning gears and hustling for just like a little bit. It's kind of like a little bit in return. So I don't know if I'm necessarily just like turning my gears in the wrong places or in the wrong ways, not turning my gears enough, or just
Yeah,
maybe expectations are in different or not lining up with my efforts, something along those lines.
got it. Okay, that makes sense. Cool. Well, I mean, what would you say is like a dream goal? Is it just be doing it full time?
Yeah, yeah.
So right here, I would probably just back up and be like, all right, well, tell me a little about you, man. What are you doing now? And that way you can kind of narrow it from there, get a good picture of where he's at, move on to what he wants. And you can start off with goals first as well if you want to. But there does at some point have to be a moment where we zoom out and get a good idea of just like what's going on, where he's at, so that way we can kind of get a sense of two ends of the spectrum and build the gap with him. So on this call in particular, are we going goals first and really diving into goals, or are we kind of jumbling it up and going back and forth? What would you say?
I think I went into what he was doing now after that, and I actually usually ask the goals thing later, like following the script more, but
Mhm.
there was some reason I brought it up earlier, and I don't remember specifically why.
And what was his objection? Why didn't he move forward?
Um, it sounded like he wasn't totally sure that it made sense for him, which is kind of what I would expect from what I was explaining to you about my whole mental way of approaching it.
Mm-hmm.
But before I started teaching, I wouldn't have included teaching in that. But since I've been teaching for close to 5 to 6 months now, I guess it's going on. I figured out that I actually really enjoy that, and I really like it.
Oh, cool.
It's been a super cool experience, and it's challenged me in a lot of ways, even way beyond music. I've had to learn a lot about myself in terms of relaying information, being super adaptable, and being able to work with all kinds of different people, teach people something in ways that I never learned it myself, which is very,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is cool. But I like teaching. I could see that sticking around for a while. And then I really like recording. That is something that I really like to do, but I haven't done as much as I'd like to. I've just done it with mainly a band, and then just whenever I record. I've done some drum covers in the past few years, and I've tinkered with recording that process. And just it's very in the process. Like I guess the big eye opener experience that made me kind of fall in love with it was doing it in a band setting in that creative, collaborative environment, and
Nice.
kind of obsessive and like in a positive way over how much I can affect the sound with my playing, all the micro adjustments, the sound of my set, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and playing those to the song, and having like having to be really intuitive and creative in that process. And it's something that I enjoy a ton. And I think in a perfect ideal world, that would be a huge part of what I do. Even just recording things remotely from home or something like that would be really neat. And then I love playing live as well.
So cool.
I've been doing it for a while. I have a ton of experience as far as playing the click tracks live, and being very adapted to live situations. Playing with most of my live experience comes from playing in church, and I played with churches like on opposite ends of the spectrum. Ones that are very straightforward, point A to point B type of service, and I played with churches that are very like just on a whim, like whatever the song goes into next, we just gotta roll with it and have that adaptability.
Yeah.
And so I feel really confident in my ability to play live, and I really like that. And that's also a way
Good.
that made a little bit of income as well.
Mm-hmm. So do you play pretty much every Sunday for different churches, like for hire kind of thing?
Yeah, so pretty much. I think it's usually three three times a month. Usually, like that's like kind of every week except for one. Some months I'll be booked every month, but yeah, I'm mainly going between two churches at the moment. I've been hired outside of that for like a lot of different kinds of churches, but these two churches have got me booked up, kind of alternating me week between week, and they are
Oh, cool.
they're polar opposites of each other in the spectrums that I described earlier. But it's fun. I like it.
Yeah, man, how cool. Right on. Well, yeah, how long would you say you're at this stage of like just wanting to play full time and even I guess even including teaching?
Yeah.
Has this been like a long time goal?
It's been an on and off goal because I'm still like kind of young.
So whenever we ask a timeline question, and I'll probably skip through a little bit and see how you like presented and everything like that in a second here. But right here, when we're gonna ask a timeline question, it sounds like this is just us going goals first. So then we want to make sure that we really dig in and get clarity around the goal before we ask like, how long have you been wanting this thing? How long have you been feeling that way? Any kind of question like that, it hits a lot harder and has a lot more power when there's more details behind it. So he kind of gave like vague answers like, I love this, I kind of like this, I like doing that. And then we asked, how long have you been wanting to do that, rather than getting a really clear, tangible goal from him, and then asking how long he's been thinking about that, how long he's been wanting to do that, so that way he can give us a really solid answer on one thing that is his ultimate goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions on that?
I mean, I guess in the moment, like, it's hard for me to think of those things and think of those specific tailored questions.
Yeah,
But yeah, that makes sense.
the easiest way to do it that I do in my mind is whenever they say something, I ask what that means, and if I don't know 100%, I ask them for clarity, right? So for example, if we rewind here,
Outside of that, for like a lot of different kinds of churches, but these two churches have got me booked up, kind of alternating me week between them as well.
let me hear what his goals are.
So cool.
I've been doing it for a while. I have a ton of experience as far as playing the clip tracks live and being very. That would be a huge part. And like in a I've tinkered with recording that process, and just it's very in the process like very
Yeah,
but in terms of relaying information, being super adaptable, and being able to work with all kinds of different people, teach people something in ways that I never learned about, that I actually really enjoy that and I really like it.
What would you say is like the dream goal? Is it just be doing it full time?
Yeah, yeah. Before I started teaching, I wouldn't have included teaching in that, but since I've been teaching for close to 5 to 6 months now, I guess it's going on. I figured out that I actually really enjoy that and I really like it. It's really
Cool.
it's been a super cool experience and it's changed me in a lot of ways.
So even just stuff like this, I found out I really like it. What does that mean? We don't really know what he likes about it. So even being like, oh, nice, man, what do you like about it? Well, I like this, I like this, I like this. So just listening for each piece in his sentence that isn't fully clear, and I mean like really clear. And this is almost to the point where, because like naturally we do this as humans, we naturally just assume what people mean by a lot of things. If someone's like, oh, I don't like this thing, or I do like this thing, we naturally just assume, okay, cool, you like it, we move on. But getting them to really sit in it and expand upon it to realize new things for themselves comes with asking them for constant clarity, down to the point where there's no way you can ask for any more.
And what do you use as a filter for what to ask clarity on? So just so I know that I'm not drilling down on something that's not important.
Yeah, main thing you want to ask for clarity on is you want to be super clear on what the problem is, right? You want to be super clear on what the goal is. You want to be super clear on what they've done to solve it, and why they believe, like what help they believe they need.
Okay.
Like if you get really clear on those things, you can accurately give feedback and they'll be more inclined to believe it. Now, when it comes to your presentation, because he said his objection was he didn't believe it was really for him. Could you tell me that again?
I honestly don't remember all the details, even though it was just yesterday.
Okay.
It was something like that. Like, it didn't sound like there was much urgency for him to jump on it, and I think there was a little bit of finances involved.
Did we establish a why now?
I gave him a price break.
Like,
So
was
it's
there
like,
any point in the call where you kind of questioned him on why this is a priority right now?
I don't think so.
Okay, so that's when someone is like, you want to create urgency with that, right?
Okay.
And that's where you're asking me like how should like the pushing them away to pull themselves back in. That's where you can throw in like some skepticism in your tone. It's like why is this a priority now? Why are you looking at this now? Why are you doing this now? Like questions like that where you can be a little bit skeptical and they defend their reason to do this now, look into this now, be wanting to do whatever it is they want to do now, will kind of establish the urgency before we ever get to the presentation, the price drop, or anything like that. And then the second piece, and then we'll hop into hunters here. The second piece, I would say, when it comes to presenting, you want to remember your presentation is an implementation pathway of what they need to do, of where they're at specifically to get to the goal they want to hit. So even though your pitch is going to have like pillars, solid pillars that are like just what you do in your program, you want to tailor each pillar to what that person needs specifically wherever they're at in their path. So for your program, for example, what are the pillars of how you help them get results?
Well, it's the weekly calls and the being available all throughout the week for messaging, and then the community.
So that's one problem right there. Those aren't pillars, those are features. Pillars are
Okay.
things that they actually have to do along the way to receive benefits. For example, if we're talking about CB, features would be group coaching, one or two one-to-one sessions when you get started to help you map things out. But the pillars would be first thing we're going to do is work on your offer, get that solidified. Second thing we're going to do is your marketing, get you attracting people that need and want your help. Third thing we're going to do is nail down your sales, make sure you're able to close deals for 1 to 5K packages. And lastly, we're going to work on your delivery so you can deliver a solid process for your clientele. Those would be pillars, because what you want to do when you're pitching is you want them to be able to see a story and see like a mental image of the steps they're taking to their goal. It should be in order, and it should be like, okay, first me and Spencer are going to do this, then we're 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 going to hit our goal. They don't care too much about one-to-one group. Like, yes, they do. You got to tell them it's in there, but the main thing they care is the bridge and the process of getting there and the results they'll be able to get. And they want to be able to really believe in the results. And the easiest way to have them believe in the results is if they're really sold and clear on the process and steps it takes to get there, right? Because think about the mental image you give them when you say, oh, you get group, you get one-to-one. They're not creating any mental image of them arriving at their destination. But if you gave them like, hey, first thing is we got to fix this, then we're going to tweak this, then we're going to work on this, then we're going to work on that, and then you'll have your goal, you'll have the results you said you wanted. It's a lot more clear. They can say, oh, that makes sense. So I give
Right.
you money, then we go through these 3 steps, and then I get result. Easy peasy. Versus I give you money, and then I get coaching, I get group, I get a course. It's disconnected from their result, because then they got to try and make up a way that brings them to where they want to be rather than you showing it to them. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
what would you say, and we'll move on after this, what would you say are the pillars of your program? How do you get people results?
Well, there's kind of built in that they need to be willing to practice for like 3 to 5 hours a day for 5 to 6 days a week. So tons of practice. There's recording projects, there's networking projects, and um, I'm blanking on something. Those are the main things. And then they have to basically find some way to play live every week, even if it's like at an open mic or at some type of jam or something.
So when you say find a way to play live, what does that mean? How do you help them find those gigs?
Well, I mean, it's mostly on them to find them, but um, if there's nothing going on in their musical, like playing live type world, then they have to go and find some type of open mic or yeah, some
and
live
and
jam
this is
that they can
and
join.
I feel like this is where that disconnect of belief is coming from, because you seem a little unsure on the process yourself, right? You know what you do physically to help them, but the actual path they need to walk, for sure. I know, for example, I know if everyone works on their offer, then solidifies their marketing, then gets good at sales, and then has awesome delivery, they will have a great program, right?
Mhm.
Really, really simple. It's like super clear, and there's no doubt. That way you can jump on the call with massive amounts of conviction, because I know the process is behind helping you find the offer, the process is behind your marketing, the process is behind the sales we teach, and the process behind the delivery models that we have all work great. So as long as someone goes through those steps, puts in the work, they will get results. So that's where the conviction comes from as well, right? So right now, practice, it's like develop the skill set, right?
Mhm.
And then networking, what's the point? What does networking do for them? What are we doing here with networking?
I mean, it's just the obvious thing of like building your network, because most gigs for most people come from those relationships. So it's like establishing relationships that gigs will come from, essentially.
There you go. And then after they've built the skill, now they're networking and landing gigs. What's next?
Well, there's two other main things, and they're not in our particular order, but
Mhm.
one is recording projects that I give them. They have to like re-record drums to old
What
classics, and
what is that for?
that's just to establish their feel. like having a good feel on the drums.
Isn't that part of practice and skill set?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that could be under that.
So what's the tangible thing? So like, and this is where tailoring it, this is why it's an implementation pathway, because the guy that's really skilled, you're going to go light on the pitch when it comes to your first pillar of skill set. The guy that needs to do the recording practice, you're going to go heavier and be like, we're going to work on your skill set, we're going to work on recording practice, we're going to work on this, we're going to work on that. But the guy who doesn't need that as much, you're not going to go too deep there. The guy who has the skill set, you're going to go deeper on the networking and how that's going to land him gigs, right? So that's why it's like the pillars stay the same, but the way you present them will change from person to person, allowing them to feel like it's really for them specifically, so that they're super comfortable with moving forward with what you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So
That's
once
awesome.
someone practices, builds the skill set, then they do some networking to land gigs. What's next for them?
Well, the other pillar is just getting out and playing at least once a week.
Okay, that's part of networking
So
because they're going to be able to land gigs once a week. But you want it to be like a roadmap of like you start here, you end here, and a lot of times your third pillar that makes it really powerful is the benefit that comes after the initial result. So for example, with delivery, that's a benefit, that's something that we need to work on after the initial result of making sales in your program, right? It's a step-by-step process. So, and if there's nothing after networking, it's like, okay, you get gigs, hooray, you made it. That's okay too. But is there anything that happens after they just start getting some gigs through networking?
I mean, usually that's the end goal. It's getting paid gigs.
That's fine. Right. So you could do a third, like a first pillar. I don't know if you help them find like their, like maybe help them find their niche. You know what I mean? And again, this is your program, so whatever pillars you have, but just know that it needs to be a step-by-step implementation pathway for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Does that make sense to everyone listening, or do we have any questions around that? Because it's super, super important for closing deals.
that's awesome. And then I guess kind of a side question related to that, which is he mentioned how he really wants to build up his teaching private lesson biz. And so I mentioned that we can include that in the program because I have experience there, so I could include that as part of what we're doing, is just like working on the business side of it and how to teach well and different stuff like that.
Yeah. So then you would just throw that in if you want to as like the next step or wherever it makes sense in your process. But
Okay.
the main key thing it comes down to is they need to feel like the program's for them. A lot of people get caught up in saying like, okay, our program gets you XYZ result, and how we do that is one-to-one group coaching. They don't care about that. They care about how they're actually going to be able to do it. What are the actual steps they're going to take? How they need to be able to envision it, right?
Yeah. So that's all
Um,
stuff you would include during kind of the pitch portion, right?
that's the pitch. And at the end, I'd be like, and how we deliver that is, you get one-to-one, you get group, whatever. I would throw that in like less than 30 seconds at the end of the pitch. But I would really focus on the processes they're going to be going through, right? And I would super tie it down after, like, which part was like, any thoughts on the process? Do you believe this is exactly what you need to get to your goal? Why do you say that? Out of the 4 steps, out of each one, which one do you think is going to be most helpful for you in the short term? Right? Get them telling you like, oh, Spencer, yeah. I mean, out of these 3, man, networking is going to be huge for me because I have no clue how to do that. You know what I mean? Get them to sell you back on it.
Right on.
Um, Yeah, Spencer, just drop the link if you threw it up on G Drive. I can download it immediately even though it's there. Also, we could just get you to share screen, worst case. So drop the link and I'll see if it's done. If not, just we'll get you to just share screen. Let me try it out first though. That way I just have speed controls and all that.
My internet is terrible. So I live in Texas.
All good.
Got that boondocks internet.
Talk to me a little bit about the offer.
Yeah, so the offer is I'm shifting more to a transformation course for Christian men. So the original offer was really heavily just fitness. So, lifting, diet, cardio. Since then, I've wanted to include a lot more of the kind of mindset piece. The idea is that walking into, one-on-one calls, I would prefer it to be more of like mindset, life coaching, lifestyle kind of things like that. Have this very pastoral bent. Um, and community aspects, very data driven on the fitness side. So yeah, I think there is definitely a piece of me where I'm like, this shift to that still feels a little clunky for sure. And just kind of how to fulfill that without just meeting with a bunch of people individually all the time. So that's definitely a piece offer wise where I feel a little clunky for sure. But the rest of it, I mean, I've had a lot of clients. It's gotten great results. I think it's just been this like shift into that for sure
If
that
you
feels a little.
if you have to say what you do using one sentence, what would you say?
I help Christian men get in shape, get their fire back, and rebuild a sense of peace, calm, and confidence.
Well, you said you're shifting away from the fitness side, right?
Uh, I less shifting away and more adding onto it.
Okay. So
Yep.
if you had to, let's say if you had to explain it without bringing up fitness, how would you say it?
I would say I help Christian men. That's a really good question. I think for me, a big word that I'm very stuck on is sovereignty and regaining a sense of sovereignty in their life, in their body, their mind, and their spirit for sure. Yeah.
Okay. What happened with this call?
So this one was one that I felt like it was an absolute home run. It was a guy that was semi referred by one of my clients, has had incredible results. That was the original connection. So we had a lot of, similar interests, all of that, like definitely seemed like a guy I would be friends with, outside of this. Felt like, dude, it was a sure deal, done deal. And now I'm getting ghosted. I haven't heard from him. I've followed up with him a few times and have not heard anything.
And why didn't he buy on the spot?
It was just the typical like, hey, let me go. I make all these decisions with my wife. Let me go talk to her. I feel good about. I think he mentioned like I feel good about this option. Let me just make sure we're good to go. And he's like, I was like, dude, can you let me know tonight? Like I'll kind of keep this discount open today. Let's talk tonight. Give me a call, give me a text, and we'll figure it out. Never got that. Followed up with him the next day, a couple days later, yesterday. This was like last week.
Do you
So
do you know what time in the call he gave the objection?
I did not hear an objection from him at all.
No, the objection of the wife.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that would have been way at the end. Yeah.
Okay. I want to jump to there and take a look at how you handled that in a second.
Yep.
We moved up to Austin to currently outside. Just it's a nice day, so I decided to sit outside.
Beautiful. I like it. Dude, I'm in Texas. It's really nice right now too.
Is
So
it?
need to get out there. But
Where in Texas are you?
outside of Austin.
Okay.
So
I was out there about a year and a half ago. That's how I met Fernando. I was at I was
oh
in.
yes. Okay, that's right. Dude, it's all coming back to me. Sorry.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
okay, bro. I know you're busy.
No, dude, that's okay. So how did y'all meet in Austin again? What happened?
So,
A lot of city life stuff. That's awesome, dude.
that's cool, bro.
That's great, man. So you're okay. So you're honest. What do you do? You like worship leader? Or you just like on the team?
Yeah. So my wife and I we lead worship. The team is big. So
Yeah.
like they have the two main worship leaders that were there before us. So we kind of just on and off. And then I'm there basically every Sunday playing guitar, whether electric or acoustic.
Cool.
But yeah, we serve at whatever capacity we can. We try to help with the youth and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's cool.
dude, I love it. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that seems like there's crazy stuff happening there, man. Looks really exciting.
Yeah, it's fun, bro. It's definitely a good time. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, it's been so my wife and I are at Austin Stone is where
Oh
we're
yeah,
at.
yeah.
She's one of the worship leaders there, so I play drums with her. I just came off staff like 2 weeks ago. Like this next week
Oh
will be
wow.
my third full time like monolith week. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I was on staff there for almost 7, and I'll just instantly be like, oh gosh,
Yeah,
Sorry,
absolutely.
but anyways, well, dude, yeah. So these calls really overall like it's a little formal, little informal. Really, the big thing is like I know we've gone back and forth. I have all the Instagram thread. I have the calendar questions, but really just kind of get another sense of like, okay, where you at? A,
Yeah.
where you want to be? B,
Yeah.
and I'll push you like this B probably needs to be bigger than you think it is in your head. Like, it just
Right. Okay.
a lot of guys come to me and it's like, man, I should get healthy. And it's like,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
Right.
And you can really shoot for something big and we can get it done. So like,
That's
so
awesome.
even right now, just as you're thinking like, don't like you can tell me something crazy and I'll tell you what we can do.
Okay.
And so and then that third piece is kind of like, here's A, here's B. What's in the middle? Like what's
Sure.
where you're at? What will be the route to get to that B? And so I'll be super honest. I'll ask a lot of questions. My big thing is knowing your why. Like why is any of this important? And so
Sure.
yeah, man. So dude, we'll hop in if you're good to go.
Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, man. So dude, I mean, first off, ask the question. There's like what initially led you to like reach out? Why are you on this call? Like
Sure.
what's that context? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So essentially, it was off for Fernando. Honestly, I mean, I guess even if I pull back a bit, I guess I was kind of looking for something, and I saw Fernando was kind of getting into the whole, he's been posting a lot about it. So I'm gonna reach out. I never reached out to him initially just because I was looking for something similar. I got a gym membership probably 2 3 months ago. I haven't gone.
Yeah.
I like it, but partially is because I put it in one of the answers because I don't know, I'm kind of afraid of going, not doing the right thing. I've wasted time like that before, so it's kind of like so that's kind of how I essentially found you, was through Fernando, and I was like, I'm gonna reach out to him. And he pushed me to reach out to you as well, so that's kind of cool of him to do that.
Yes, dude. Yeah, he's been awesome, man. He's been great. Man. So give me kind of a picture of like just physically kind of where you're at. We'll start there. Just physically where you're at. Kind of are there any other issues that have kind of come
Sure.
from that? What are you dealing with right now? What's bothering
Sure. Yeah. So I'm probably as far as like weight, I'm probably the biggest I've ever been. I don't know exactly where I'm at. I'm gonna kind of guess. I think I stand 5'10", and I think I'm about 230 around there. Maybe more, to be honest with you. Last time I checked, I was around 230. So
Okay.
I do deal with like sleep apnea issues.
Yes.
I've gotten worse since my weight gain.
Yep.
Which is something that I noticed my wife really noticed. So
Yes.
she sleeps with me every night, so she gets to see that. But so that's been a huge factor, which is partially one of the biggest reasons actually why I want to do it, was because dude, I'll be driving
Did he just say his wife noticed?
Mm-hmm.
and falling asleep completely. That's something that's never happened to me before, and I know it has a lot to do with my weight gain because I don't rest at night,
Yeah.
so then I'm groggy all day, I'm foggy all day.
Yep.
So just stuff like that. That's kind of scary when you're on the freeway and you just suddenly wake up and you're like, oh, dang, I was falling asleep. So yeah, stuff like that. And then not just that, I've never actually like fully committed to like just being healthy in general. So
Yeah.
and then of course
So right, like I would just be listing all these things out. Sleep apnea got worse. Wife noticed. Just everything, every problem he's listing out, I would just keep a mental note or just have like a notepad off the side of my computer, bullet point it all down, and be ready to do callbacks to each of them and ask him to clarify that more for you.
Yep.
Right? When did the wife notice? What did she say? What do you mean she noticed? What did she say about it? Right? Sleep apnea is getting worse. Tell me about that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it used to be this, now it's this.
Yep.
Right? Because all of that will help with urgency. All of that will help with him feeling pain and understanding how big of a problem it is where he's at.
Yep.
It's funny how I reached out to you prior to kidney stone, but of course the kidney stone just takes a whole other level. Like, okay, I need to relax. Like, I need to do something and take this seriously. Yeah. So
You say kidney stone got worse? Like,
Yep.
Dude.
Kind of some of the main reasons why I wanted to start this.
For sure. Okay, that's good, man. So, man, outside of that, are there any other things you're just like,
And like that wife objection, like his wife noted, and if you dig into how the wife, like what the wife's reaction was, when you get to that wife objection at the end, like I like to handle a lot of objections before we even drop price or anything.
Right.
So one thing I would have done was really dig into what the wife thinks about this.
Mm-hmm.
What does she think about, like he said he hasn't been able to be committed to the gym, right?
Yep.
What does she think about his lack of commitment?
Yeah.
Does she know he's been struggling for this long?
Yeah.
Does she know he's on this call?
Yeah.
Does she support you in like finally figuring this out and getting in shape and fixing these issues?
Yeah.
Then at the end, when he's like, I got to talk to my wife, I'm like, why would she say no?
Yep.
You just told me she's been supporting you for the last 6 years as you failed at this. You think she wouldn't support you in finally doing the thing that's going to solve all these problems for you?
Mm-hmm. That's really good, because I feel like I did a good job with him, but yeah, taking that next level of just like there's a lot, and so I found myself like I'll have this thing of like, dude, I can tell like you really care about your wife, like you really, and that's kind of this positive side, but also go to this negative side of like, man, like there's a laundry list here of stuff that you've told me, like, man, these are issues that she's had, and just kind of expanding on that for sure. That's
Well,
that's
what I love doing too is really getting their commitment on the process, really tying down that how bad they need to solve the problem. And then if they're like, I gotta talk to my wife, I'll be like, well, man, what if she says no?
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do then?
Yep.
Are you gonna continue with these problems?
That's brilliant. I love that.
Because like you're gonna talk to your wife. Okay, like what if she says no? Like what happens
Yep.
then? Is it over? And if they're really, really hell bent on like, we just make decisions together, just really need to, then you got to figure out it's one of two things. Is he asking for permission or is he just letting her know?
Yeah.
Because those are two different
For
conversations.
sure.
And if it's either whichever one it is, then you coach him on how to speak to his wife about it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because if he's like, oh, I just kind of gotta let her know, I would have been like, what would you say to her? Are you gonna go
Yep.
up to her and be like, I met this guy online, he's asking me for 20 grand to do this thing for fitness? Because you just told me you've been trying for the last 5 years and have consistently failed, and she's seen you not be committed over and over again. So what makes you think she's gonna have the confidence in you to spend money
Mm.
to what, not be committed again? How are you going to convince her that you're going to be committed this time?
Yep.
So if you are going to go to her, you are going to talk to her, what she wants to see from you is conviction and confidence. You can't go to her like, honey, I'm doing it again. I'm trying this thing. Maybe I'll get in shape this time. Maybe I'll solve the sleep apnea problems. Maybe I'll. Do you think she'll have confidence in you and give you that yes to do this if that's the case? No, she won't. So what you need to do is you need to go to her with confidence and say, listen, I'm committed this time. I'm putting everything on the table this time. I'm super confident in Hunter and what he's got going on. He's going to be there to support me. If you want to talk to him, we can get on a call together if you have any questions for him. But, honey, I'm going all in this time. I'm super confident and convicted in this. And I know I can do this. All I'm asking is for you to be there for me and support me as I do this. That's all I'm asking.
Mm.
And if he goes to her like that, he's going to get the yes, and he's going to be able to join the program.
Yep.
But if you just let him go, you know what I mean? If you just let him go talk to
Yeah.
her, whatever, he's going to be like, honey, this guy online says I can get fit with this program. It's going to be $5,000.
Yep.
Of course she's going to say no. She didn't hear the pitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. For sure.
So you got to coach him on how to pitch his wife
Yep.
and vice versa if you're speaking to the wife.
Yep.
And she's got to go talk to her husband. Right?
Yep. I wish I could talk to these wives. Jeez.
Well, that's the thing. You tell them to bring them
Yeah.
on the call.
Yeah. No, I do. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
But if they go to them without that, like, especially husbands talking to their wives, like they just want to see like conviction.
Absolutely.
Because again, just like you're selling to him with a transfer of belief, he's selling to her with a transfer of belief.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to her not believing in himself, saying, I'm going to try this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man, I think that would be the biggest thing at the end here.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll listen to a few more minutes here. Do you probe into a lot of those things that he said he had problems with?
I do. Yeah. I mean that I was trying to that's one thing I've worked on is just kind of the sense of like, hey, you just kind of brother to brother, like you need to understand that where you're at is not just neutral. It won't just stay where it is. It's already bad, but it's not just going to stay where it is, right? You have to take massive action. Work needs to be done. It will compound into something worse or something better. So my job is to make sure that it's compounding for the better, right? And really, trying to again bring back all of those pain points that they've found, whatever it is. So that's actually what I was doing this whole time, was just like
And
writing those things down.
did you tell him those things or did he tell you?
In terms of what?
In terms of you saying, hey, these things are compounding, it's getting worse. Did he tell you those things or did you tell him those things?
I told him after he told me those issues he had.
He needs to come to the realization himself and admit to himself that it's getting worse.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to do that is by asking him questions around it. and getting him to just getting to the point where he says it, right? Like, when did you first realize you had sleep apnea? Okay, when you first realized it, tell me a little bit about that. How was it going? It was like this. And you said it's getting worse. What's been happening? Well, now I've been doing this, and now it's even worse because in this way. When did you first realize it was like getting worse? Well, probably a couple months ago, right? Just let him just really dig in, dude. What I mean, on the trajectory it's going, like, where do you think it'll be, like in a year or something like that, or in the next 3 months? Well, dude, I think in the next 3 months it's gonna be like way worse. It's gonna be like here. So if you do nothing about this, like, what happens?
Hmm.
You know, let him tell
Get
you,
him to fill in the blank. Yeah.
right? Because if you tell him, there's a certain level of power to it, but it's nowhere near as strong as if they admit it themselves. Because like you know, and this is what I talk about. I think I brought up on the last call, the 3 levels of truth,
Hmm.
right? There's the surface level truth, the spoken truth, right? That you can pretty much plainly see. He'll tell you right away. Like, they'll just admit it. That's why they're on the call. This is my problem. There's the unspoken truth, stuff that they wouldn't really tell you unless you did some digging and probing into it. They wouldn't say it on the surface level, but done some probing, and now they've said it. They've admitted things to you. And usually, like, good salespeople can get people to admit some things. But then there's a third level where great salespeople get to, which is the unknown truth, which is things that the prospect didn't even realize were a problem. Didn't even realize, like, they didn't realize the scope of it. Maybe they realized that it was a problem, but they didn't realize how big of a problem it actually was. They're like, I didn't even think of it that way. I didn't even think about that big of a problem. I didn't even realize that, right? Maybe him finding out that his lack of commitment to the gym is spilling into his lack of commitment in other areas of his life, and him not being able to make that connection, that he can't commit to anything ever, and that's part of why him and his wife argue consistently about certain things, because he has a commitment issue. Like, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that just comes out when you
Yep.
probe enough. When you're like, what does the wife think about it? What does she said about it?
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? And that's when
Absolutely.
they really feel it, and they're like, I need to make a change, and I need to make it now. You couple that with the why now, they're ready to move forward.
Hmm.
And then you guys, when you're handling that spouse objection, then you guys are on the same team, talking to each
Yes.
other about how he's going to be able to help his wife agree to this.
Yes.
You're not like, him and his wife are on one side, you're on this side, and he's going to go ask and see if it's okay. It's me and you and him are on the same side, and you're game planning, like, how can we talk to your wife to get her to allow you to do this? Because at the end of the day, me and you both already agreed. We know it's done, it passed, that you need to do this.
Hmm.
How can we get to a point where, like where she is okay with it? And part of that is bringing it up early, and having him understand that has his best interest.
Yep.
She wants him to succeed. She wants him to get over this. Sometimes you can get like a deposit,
Yeah.
refundable deposit if anything happens, or just get a deposit while he goes and talks to the wife, just so that he's committed to talk to you again and doesn't ghost,
Yep.
right? Because he put some skin in the game.
Yep.
Get a deposit, and get a call booked with him and the wife.
Yeah. Is that ideal? Like, so say if, okay, let me go talk to my wife. Would an ideal scenario be like, well, hey, could I come into that conversation? Like, is that okay? Like,
Like,
could
you wouldn't
we?
say it, like, that wouldn't be the first thing you respond with,
Right.
but what's it called? Whenever you have a follow up, whether it's talk to the wife, think about it, you always want to have that follow up. Like, you always want to have another call booked in the calendar and some action items for them to take. You never want to get off, like, never, unless it's a flat out no, you never get off the call without another time on the calendar. Because
Hmm.
then them ghosting is like like so much more likely.
Yeah.
So if he was like, I got to talk to my wife, I'll let you know by the end of the day, you put in a time on the calendar for the end of the day. Or if he's I'll let you know tomorrow, you put in a time for tomorrow for you guys to hop back on Zoom and have a chat. Tell him to bring his wife if he'd like. Coach him through asking the questions and have him bring on the wife.
Mm.
That makes sense?
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. So take deposit, get another time on the calendar, and then I currently don't have like, say, like a PDF or something that's just like, hey man, well, like when you go, here's this thing. I mean, is that obviously something that would probably be beneficial of like, hey, here's kind of a rundown, here's, because I'll ask that. That would always be my first question was like, hey, so as you go talk to her, like, are you confused about any of this, or like do you feel like you can accurately, like what questions do you know that she'll ask? What, do you feel like you fully understand what's going on here? And usually
Well,
she's like, oh yeah,
he should be in a place where, like, before he even gets the chance to object, you should already be in a place where he says, Hunter, this is exactly 100% what I need, no doubt about it.
yes, yep,
Right?
yep,
Because once you present like this is the process, you're immediately like like what questions do you have on that? Well,
absolutely,
what
yeah,
about
yeah,
this? You
yep,
answer the questions. Cool. Any other questions? No. Awesome. Um, out of each pillar I mentioned, which one was your favorite? Which one do you think is going to be the most helpful for you? I think step 2, I think step 1, I think okay, cool. Why? Well, because I'm someone who really struggles with that accountability, and I think having it's going to make a massive difference for me. Okay, so do you believe that this process, this is exactly what you need to get you to plug in goal? Yes, that's exactly what I need. Why do you think that? Well,
mhm,
dude, I mean, the program has this, it has this, it has that, and I'm gonna really need this aspect of it, and you're gonna do this, and I'm gonna really want that. So now they're selling you your program.
yes,
You're like, okay, cool. Well, I mean, I don't have any other questions. Sounds like you feel good about it. Where do you want to go from here? Usually they'll be like, give me the price, blah, blah, blah. Drop, like you get into the price drop section so that by the time that there's like the spouse objection, there's anything like that, it's like you guys have already pushed aside the fact that this is exactly it. Like this is they like there's no they've gotten all their questions about the program. They know the program's for them. They know it's what they need. They know it's what they want. Now is the right time to do this. All of that is pre-take looked after. So that when if it does come down to like a follow-up, you're booking in the next time, you're giving them something that's gonna like help them with the first step, right?
mhm,
You know, anything. Like Trey said in
yeah,
the chat, objection prevention beats objection handling every step of the way.
yep,
If you do everything right, you shouldn't get more than like one objection,
yep.
right? Maybe two, but if you're getting like two, three, four, it's like okay, there's something off with the pitch
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's where I'm a little confused because it's like consistently, it's like, this is perfect. I love what you're doing. I'm all about it. Blah, blah, blah. I don't have any other questions. It seems awesome. It's more than I expected. And then it's just like, oh, but, money's tight,
Get
or
them to tell you why.
yeah, for sure.
Get them to tell you why,
Hmm.
right? Because they might just say, "Oh yeah, it sounds good. This is it." But get them to tell you why. Really press in. Really
Yes. Yeah,
search
yeah.
for it. First, search for the objection. And if it really comes down to just can't afford it, like if they said, "Oh, I just don't have the money," like after all of that, I would tie it down again and be like, "Okay, well, price aside,
Yes.
this is exactly what you want. Like this is what you need. You want to do this. Yes." And I'll tie it down again. I'll be like, okay, so if it just came down to finding a way to make it work financially, like you're in, you do this today. This is,
Hmm.
this is what it is. Yeah, Hunter, like if we could find a way to make it work financially, then I'm in. Then you just do an open wallet of like, well, dude, I mean, most people just paid in full, but I know for some it's a little bit difficult. And if you're just up for an open, honest conversation about finance, I might be able to kind of see what makes the most sense. Then you guys are just sitting there together going through finances and coming up with some kind of plan where they can pay for it.
Hmm.
But that's totally different from them just giving the money objection and not being sold on it. If they're sold on it, then it just comes down to doing the open wallet and collecting what can be collected there,
Hmm.
you know?
Yep.
Or like the only time someone won't close at that point is if they have like 500 credit score, zero cash in the bank, and no friends or family they can ask to borrow money from. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But other than that, it's like they close 100% of the time apart from that reason.
Mhm.
You know?
Yep.
Cool. Anyone have any questions on that? No, pretty straightforward. I saw, Tom, you said any experience in reviewing sales calls in another language, in my case, Spanish, AI tools that translate so you can review it. I've never done it before. I'm willing to try. I'm willing to try if it's got like transcripts. It might be pretty difficult. Willing to give it a shot if you've got like a tool that you uploaded it to that pulls out the transcript. Um, but yeah, never done it before, so not too sure on that. For deposits, you guys can unmute and ask the questions. You know, we don't gotta put everything in the chat. But someone said here for deposits, do you ask for a specific amount or do you ask what they can get started with, assuming they know? So for deposits, like are we talking about a deposit on a like a spousal objection or something like that? Because if it's a deposit on a spousal objection, then yeah, usually I would just, say like, let's, are you sure you want to do this? 100% cool. Let's get your commitment in. Let's put down a refundable deposit. And I would just tell them an amount um that I would want them to put down as a deposit. Cool. Anyone have any questions before we hop? Good to go. Everyone learned something from this call? Awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ty.
Awesome. If you learned something, post it in school, get more people on the call. Let's get more people closing some deals. Let's get some more money.
Yep. Ty, thank you so much, man. That was super helpful.
No problem. Hope that helps. Keep us posted on how it goes once you guys implement these things. Post it in school, and yeah, let's keep track of the progress here. Alrighty. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you next week Wednesday.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.